Hi girls, I'm just going to go through the mark scheme to the SAC so that you can go through all of your questions one by one and see how you went according to this. This document is also uploaded onto Sector and SharePoint, so you can just look at it on your own anyway. So here we go. The three sections of the SAC. What I've done here, you can see, is that I have told you what our average percentage was for each question. So this one was an okay-ish question. I found that, so you had to identify the substrates in both the apple juice and the catalase experiment. The apple juice one, your substrate was, I was happy to accept pectin, cellulose, or both. I could not accept pectinase or cellulase because both of those are enzymes. So that one was probably a little bit less well answered than the second one, which was all to do with hydrogen peroxide being the substrate to the second one there. Question number 2, the value of the dependent variable was measured indirectly. What was measured and what was graphed? So measured, you had to say it was time, and the graphed was rate or 1/time. Yes, both points needed for 1 mark. If you got half of it right, you got 0 marks. Sorry. Number 3, how could you modify your experiment? This one, you can see we got a little bit less than some of our other questions. What I needed to see here was that you were using different volumes. I did accept different amounts, but it's not as good an answer as saying different volumes. And you needed to pick an enzyme. So either pectinase or cellulase, or name both, or say you were going to do it for both, but it needed to be really specific. So I needed you to say how you were going to change it. So it wasn't good enough to tell me that you were going to use different concentrations. What I needed to see, so it wasn't good enough to say different enzyme concs, because that was in the statement of the question. You had to tell me how you were going to do it. So different volumes of enzyme mixed with different volumes of water was a better way of telling me that. Then your second mark could either come from telling me that you were going to keep everything else the same, so that's your CVs, or telling me how you were going to measure the DV. And I was happy to give you the second mark for either one of those, but you didn't need both. For question number 4, back up to 64% correct. Why do we take multiple trials? One thing that I'm not going to accept here is I'm not going to accept increase in precision, because it doesn't increase the precision. What it does is it enables you to identify how precise the data is, but it does increase the reliability instead. So you could say it increased the reliability. If you said it increased the reliability and precision, I'd give you 1 mark. If you said it reduced random errors and increased the reliability and increased precision, I'd give you 2 marks. I'm happy to go through that with anyone that needs me to, because there were lots of different choices that you girls wrote down. Question number 5, we had 76% correct. Which one was more reliable? Quite a few people were telling me that apple juice was more reliable because of the method. For me, I was looking for which one had been repeated. Yes, reliability has to do with repetition. So catalase was more reliable because it had been done multiple times, more than once, 3 times, however you want to say it. As we go down, section B, so that was all. We finished with our experimental design. Now we're going to go on to new experimental design. Very, very happy to see that 96% of people could give me a hypothesis. So with the hypothesis, it had to have a direction. So the mice that were treated with vitamin D are less likely to develop rheumatoid arthritis. The next one, I don't know why that says 842 marks. It's just 2 marks. The next one, IV and DV. Some people got a little bit confused around this. You need to give me this bit, this or not. So when you're doing the independent variable, this is what you change. And what you change is affected you needed to tell me how you're going to change it. So you can't just say vitamin D. Vitamin D is not the independent variable. Treating with vitamin D or not is. And then anything that was reasonable. So this OWTTE means all words to that effect. Anything that was reasonable to say that would be something you could measure in rats. So your DV is what you measure. Okay, some results. If you got the hypothesis right, generally you could get the results, but it needed to link to mice. Okay, so fewer mice developing arthritis if they were treated with vitamin D compared to no vitamin D. Sources of random error. So sources of random error, some people were still giving me mistakes, so I couldn't accept mistakes. But things like that were out of your control, or that you could be seen to be out of your control. What the health of the mice was, how old the mice were, what their weight was. So age was a good one here. And then most people were able to give me a suggestion. If you see this symbol, this ECF, that means error carried forward. So if you didn't give me a very good, or I didn't think the random error was very good, but you gave me a reasonable suggestion for how to improve that, you wouldn't get the mark for identifying the error, but you would get the mark for suggesting the improvement. All right, this next question is a bit of a contentious one. Validity, yes, it refers to is the study studying what it's supposed to be studying. I didn't accept that the mice model wasn't relevant to humans, because what I was looking for here was the study itself valid? Okay, so the method that they've used, I should correct myself here, or I can elaborate, not correct myself, but was the method valid? And in order to identify if the method is valid, we need to identify, is there one IV only? So some people, you could justify it either way. You could tell me, yes, there's only one IV, and then you needed to link it to the context and say that was whether or not the vitamin D tablet was given or not. Or you could say, no, I don't know if it's valid because there's not enough information. And then again, you needed to link it to the context. So look at the number of marks there. You can see it's worth 2 marks. So therefore, you're going to have 2 points. The yes and no is not a mark on its own.